Backchat TV. Subscribe.
What's going on, boxing fans? It's Backchat TV, back with another one. Just want to give a quick shout out first of all for everyone for clicking on my video. I really do appreciate everybody who watches my content, supports the channel. We're going to get into this fight that just happened just a few hours ago. I watched the whole fight actually. It was a good fight. I was quite excited to watch Jared Anderson against a veteran in Charles Martin. Wanted to see how he would do. Just like most people, I thought he would probably obliterate Charles Martin, because I haven't really seen anything particularly good from Charles Martin, and he is kind of in that journeyman conversation, if you know what I mean. You know, he's lost all of his big fights, but he's had some decent wins. So it was definitely a step up for someone of the likes of Jared Anderson, who is touted as the next big thing, up and coming young heavyweight. He ticks all the boxes, you know, extremely athletic, fast puncher, good IQ, uses good angles, great footwork. Has had some really good sparring wars with Tyson Fury, and you know, he's just the next big thing. So with that being said, there's a lot of pressure on the young man. People kind of forget sometimes that, you know, he's in his early 20s. He's a young man. He needs to be steered in the right direction. Sometimes there can be a bit of a curse when you have great performances early on. People just expect more from you, and a lot of pressure can get to you. And from what I've seen from Jared Anderson, I like Jared Anderson, but I feel like there's some issues with him. I mean, forget this fight for a moment. I'm talking about even before this fight. I don't know how well he's handling the pressure, because I've seen a few interviews that he's given, and to be honest, I don't really like the vibe I get from the interviews. He's a young heavyweight just starting his career. He already seems to be a little bit disillusioned with boxing. I've seen countless interviews that he's been in where he's spoken about, you know, they've asked him about what he wants to do in boxing, and you know, what's his ambition, and a lot of the times he's like, I'm fed up with boxing. He doesn't say it like that, but he's like, I don't really care that much about boxing. It's paying the bills. If I could find something else that was paying the bills the same way, I would just go and do that. You know, that's not what you want to hear from a prospect starting his career. Because if you look at most prospects that go on to be great, you know, first of all, they have talent, but second of all, they have a lot of desire. Even if they're not getting the fights that they want, they don't have the money, a lot of the times, all they can talk about is being champion. I want to be unified champion. I want to take on the best. They call out people, you know, I'm the best. I want to prove I'm the best. I want to fight the best. They can't wait. You almost have to slow them down because they're so full of enthusiasm. But Jared Anderson, it's like the opposite. Now, I'm not trying to talk down on him. I just want to try and understand his mindset, because that's an indication of how far he can really go. Because obviously he's got the talent, but there seems to be some weakness in his mindset. Now, I don't know if other people are going to agree with that, but just look at a few of his interviews. He's not the most enthusiastic person about his boxing career. Now, I feel like there could be a few reasons for that. One reason, maybe he seems a bit disillusioned. Maybe he's not getting the fights that he wants. Or maybe more specifically, he's not getting the money that he wants. He seems to be quite concerned with money. Not from a greedy perspective, but he seems like he has a family to take care of. He has a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and he's not maybe earning enough or something. I don't know what it is. He was in an interview with Roy Jones, and Roy Jones was showing him some pointers, some boxing tips, and it got suddenly kind of emotional, where he ended up kind of tearful, and he was really upset, and he was talking about how nobody knows his struggle, what he's going through, and how much pressure is on his shoulders. And I kind of feel like Roy Jones was a little bit taken back by this 6'4" guy kind of crying in front of him. But Roy Jones was really good and kind of very understanding to him, and he said, whatever you're going through, you were built to go through it. You know what I mean? Which I think was the best advice he could have given him. But having said that, the young man seems to be under some pressure, and it wasn't helped by fighting in his hometown of Ohio with all his family and friends there. Seemed to be a lot of pressure on him to perform. He's going to have to get used to the bright lights. I feel like that's one of the things he's going to have to get used to. But, you know, nevertheless, talking about the actual fight, I just want to kind of point out his mindset. It doesn't seem like most up-and-coming champions. I think he has to fix that to go any further, no matter what his talent. If he doesn't fix that mental battle, you can't play boxing. You either commit yourself to 100%. If you're half in, you'll lose. So that's what I'm worried about him with that. And I kind of saw, there was kind of glimpses of that even in this fight with Charles Martin, because all of his family and friends were there, like I said. And he started off very good. He started off putting the pressure early on Martin, because that's how he's been able to get rid of a lot of his opponents. And when it kind of didn't work, he got the knockdown. He tried to put his foot on the gear. I think he realised that Martin wasn't going anywhere, and then he kind of switched it up. But he got tested. I think he got the knockdown. I think it was the third round. He tried to put his foot on the gear. Martin made an adjustment. Martin was on the back foot, trying to use his jab, which he said he was going to do, and he did that. But he was losing a lot of real estate, and obviously Anderson was pressuring him towards the ropes, landing shots to the head, body shots, but they weren't clean. But they did seem to be kind of having an effect on Martin. Obviously, he was a slower fighter, and it seemed to be wearing him down a little bit early on. But actually, Martin was actually kind of playing possum, because he was on the back foot waiting for an opportunity, and he really took his opportunity when it came in the fifth round. He caught him with, I think, I'm not sure, what was it, a right hook or a left hook? I can't remember. I'd have to watch it again, but he caught him really clean, and Jared Anderson felt that power, was on some unsteady legs for a little while, and Martin put a bit of pressure on him, should have put more pressure on him. I think he ran out of time when the bell sounded, and Jared Anderson kind of got back his momentum. He started pressuring him again, but there was a few times throughout the round, from the fifth round onwards, fifth round, maybe the ninth round, and then in the last round, you know, where he caught him clean. Now, it was just a little bit too little, too late for Martin. I feel like Martin should have held his ground more. Because he was on the back foot, he was losing rounds, because Jared was more active, was throwing a lot more shots. He should have just held his ground more, you know. Don't feed into the whole, you know, power stuff. You know, he's a hard puncher and he's strong and all this stuff. You got to hold your ground, you know, and use that timing he was using to land the left, the straight left, which Martin landed a few times. He should have used that to come forward a bit more. You know, he should have used that entry to come forward, start putting a bit of pressure on Jared. But I think he preferred to try to go for the counter. He was trying to go for the counter and wait for Jared to make a mistake. I think it's a good plan, because they're heavyweights. They only need one punch. So I think he was thinking, if I just let this young man keep pushing, and then he's going to overextend and make a mistake. And that's exactly what Jared did, and that's exactly what Martin did. He took advantage of it, but it was just a little bit, it just wasn't enough. When Martin first got him with a straight punch, which got him on wobbly legs, he should have gone forward, started to hold his ground more, started to pressure Jared instead of waiting for that one shot, you know. And he did that again. He got that lucky shot again in between punches, but he never really got the chance to really put his foot on the gas and pressure Jared Anderson and really make it count. Instead, he was kind of just looking for that one mistake all the time that he could capitalize on. And you know, as we know, that doesn't always win fights. You know, so it was a majority unanimous decision. It was a unanimous decision in the end. 10-round fight. Jared Anderson definitely passed the test, but he passed the test with, I would say, a C, satisfactory. You know, which is fine. Sometimes you need these tests. Yeah, you need these tests. Performance was satisfactory, like I said, against a satisfactory opponent. You got to remember, sometimes people say, you know, some detractors may look at Jared Anderson and say, well, he really struggled against a fighter that hasn't really done anything, yeah. But you got to understand that every fight you learn. So the Martin we're seeing now, in my eyes, it doesn't compare to the Martin that fought Anthony Joshua a few years ago and got demolished in like 2 rounds or something. So you can't really compare, Jared Anderson went 10 rounds with somebody like Martin. You just can't say that. Martin has a lot of experience and power, so we just can't make these kind of assumptions about fighters. There's a lot that goes into fighting. There's a lot that goes into your opponent. Charles Martin now is a completely different fighter from the fighter who got demolished in 2 rounds by Anthony Joshua. So you can't compare the two. He's a veteran. You can see the experience in Martin now. Just evading shots by a few inches. He knows when to step on the gas. He knows when to conserve his energy. He knows when to make you overextend and go for a shot. And he knows when to stay out of danger. He knows when to tie up. All these things Martin didn't know a few years back. So this is actually a better win than it looks like. It's a very good win to be a veteran who knows how to box and has experience and has a few losses on his record. It is it's a good experience and a good result for Jared Anderson. I can't help but think that if he wasn't at home, he wouldn't have so much pressure, and then he would have stuck to his own game plan instead of trying to push the issue too quickly. I feel like he's more relaxed when he's away from home, and a lot of people say this. There's actually more pressure when you're at home. Which I felt the pressure of Jared Anderson, not just in his interviews, but in the fight. He seems to be a young man who's under the expectations of a lot of people. So if he's going to go any further than Charles Martin, he needs to really dedicate to this boxing, forget about what other people say, maybe find someone, if he hasn't got someone already, who can really steer him in the right direction. Someone who can try to help him not become disillusioned with things that happen in boxing. Not getting fights, not getting money, not getting recognition. Maybe, you're going to get times when the fans say you're no longer a prospect. There are going to be some people that say Jared Anderson isn't really a prospect anymore because he didn't flatline Martin. You got to understand, as a young fighter, all that is nonsense. You just got to keep learning, keep building on your skill set, keep building your mentality. And there needs to be someone in Jared Anderson's corner that is telling him these things. Now, that's all I've got to say about that, because I don't know his team set up. But all I can say is I hope he has someone who can be steering him in the right direction. But yeah, it was a good fight. Like I said, a C-level performance, which is fine when you're a prospect and you're coming up. You're going to have these performances where you get a unanimous decision. You didn't knock somebody out. It's very hard to knock out a veteran, someone who's was fighting the whole fight on the back foot. It's very difficult. So it's good to get a good win against someone like Charles Martin. He moves on. They asked him, is there anyone he wants to call out? And he didn't really. He said anyone who makes sense. He doesn't really seem to be in a rush to fight the best. I like this, actually. I think it's a good thing, because a lot of fighters who are overly, enthusiastic to fight the best, they often come unstuck because they don't know what they don't know, if you see what I mean. You just started. You're young. You're a young prospect. There's lots of things you don't know. You don't know how to be patient. You don't know how to always stay defensively sound. These things come with, being found out sometimes, as Charles Martin knows. If you watch Charles Martin, his defense was much better than it was when he fought earlier, where he had zero defense. If you look at Deontay Wilder is becoming a seasoned fighter now. In his early career, it was just about knockouts, his athleticism, his knockout power. Since then, he's been hit when he hasn't been defensively sound, and now you see a much more defensively minded Deontay Wilder. As much as you're going to get from someone like Wilder anyway. That can only come from experience. Jared Anderson, as he's a new up-and-coming prospect, he's yet to find that out. So, so far, I like him, but I reserve some judgment. I'm not completely sold on Jared Anderson. And the main reason is more his mentality than his physical attributes. But let me know what you think. What you think of my comments. Am I being a bit hard on the young man? Do you think that mentally he's strong enough to make it? Do you see any fragility in his mental setup there? What did you think of the fight itself? Do you think it was a convincing win? Yeah, let me know, man. I'm still thinking about Joe Anderson. That's why I'm not completely sold on him. I think this fight may have brought out a stronger mindset, because now he knows he can perform in front of his family and still get the win. He might get a bit more confidence. He seems to be lacking something, and I'm not sure what it is. It's not physical. It's either confidence or enthusiasm or motivation or discipline or something. But let me know what you think. I'm on to the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. Feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more of a similar nature.